All right, we're looking at some of your homework problems from your section 10.3 homework. I'm on number 9 on this video. Starting at number 9, we're talking about effective yield. So effective yield means how much $1 invested for 1 year yields. It helps us figure out the effective yield is always a little bit more than the stated percent that you see here. So we use our same old formula we've been using for this entire section, our compound interest formula, and we put in $1 for our principal. The rate that's given in the particular problem changed to a decimal. It's compounded semi-annually, so that'll be a 2 there. And then we do that for 1 year. $1 for 1 year. We crunch through the formula with our interest rate and our compoundings. So type all that in, and we'll see how much growth we got out of our money. You really don't have to type in that 1, but you can if you want to, but it's times 1, so that won't change anything if you don't. And we raise that to the second power. You know, always multiply those together first and just leave that as a 2. And that gives me 1.04550625. Now, to get the effective yield, you want to take your dollar back off and see how much of this is actually interest. You know, the dollar we originally principal invested, we want to subtract that off, and so it just leaves these numbers, which would be our interest growth in 1 year, basically 4.5 cents. But to change it to an effective yield, we actually consider that growth as our percentage and go to right and makes 4.55 yada yada percent. It should tell me what to round to. It does say round to the hundredths place, so that means 2 decimal points back. So this 0 is important. It tells me whether to round up or not. 0 will not round that up, you know, that's based off of that, so I will leave it as 4.55%. So notice the effective yield will always be just a tiny bit more than the original stated amount. You might notice this when you walk into a bank. The effective yield is sometimes listed like your percentage rate for your investment, but then it'll say the effective yield, and it's always just a little bit more based on this calculation. So you're doing the calculation that shows up on those boards when you walk in the bank. You can do that. All right, next problem. We're actually the last problem, number 10. We've got Jim who wants to invest some money now to buy a new tractor in the future. If he wants to have $375,000, oh my gosh, that's a lot, available in 4 years, how much will he need to invest? I don't know what kind of tractor he's buying, but it's some major intense tractor there. But he needs to have a certain amount now to get to that. That's his question. How much does he need to invest now at a CD paying 4.35% compounded monthly? So this is similar to one we have done earlier in the assignment. It actually takes it back to that, but it's more in a reading format, I guess, more in an interesting format. And so we're using, this formula was used for every problem in this section. So you should be kind of getting used to that flow of that. So we're trying to have $375,000 in the future. So we want to know how much P principal do we need to invest today at 4.35%. So we change that to a decimal. Always go to left to get rid of your percent sign. And then it's compounded monthly, so that means put a 12 there. And then how many years? It said somewhere 4 years here, times 4 years. So I recommend, let me get this out of your way. That was from the last problem. Don't want it to distract you. So we want to multiply that together. Go ahead and call that 48 total compoundings. So the way to handle this is we do this on our calculator. We figure out this value, and it's times by this P. So we will, to solve, divide that to each side. So that will be divided, whatever that is. We divide it to get it to cancel, and then that value is divided here. So it's 375,000 divided by all of this stuff to figure out present value. All right, so let's see what that stuff is on our calculator. So we've got 1 plus 0.0435 divided by 12, close your parenthesis, raised to the 48th power. So that comes out to be, all of this is 1.189681215, lots of decimals. Now, if you have the A and S button, I mentioned this in the last video, it's easier than having to write all that out again. But you're going to divide this side, and you can just do it old school like that. Just write down the numbers. You'll need to get the 375,000 in your calculator first, divided by all those numbers. So to do it on my calculator, I do have the ANS button, and I think most calculators do. If yours doesn't, maybe it has a store button or something you can use as well to kind of keep that last calculation in. So I type in my 375,000 that I want to divide by that last number, and then that comes up to be still a lot of money, 315,210 and what, 49 cents, 0.49. So that tells me how much I would need to have today. Oh, I'm putting in the wrong blank. 315 to 10.49. Let me double check. Yeah, that is what my answer key says. Just double checking that. That's the amount, the present value that I would need to invest today for it to grow to the growth value 375 in the future. All right, hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions.